Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is another episode of the Jetta. Alright, today we're going to be doing brake pads on the Jetta. As I said in the last episode, their brakes are still squeaking, but there's no padding on them, and I think they're glazed over, so we're going to switch the pads out. Alright, so here's the front brakes that I got. They're a little bit more expensive because this is a front wheel drive car, so I want them to last a little bit longer. And these ones we got for the rear. They're the cheapest ones. Don't really use the rear brakes as much, so we're just going to throw those in. And I'm not going to be using a whole lot, just the jack and then the jack stand. And we're going to lift up the car and take the tire off. Alright, first thing we want to do is take off this piece right here to get to your lug nuts. And then I always just jack up the car a tiny little bit so that you want the tires still on the ground so you can loosen these. Okay guys, the wheel's off, and I put a jack stand right under there just so in case this thing decides to give out or whatever, you're not having your rotor down here smash the cement. As you can see, the brake pads have plenty on them, but they're still squeaking, and yeah, so we're gonna get into that. Alright guys, so now that we're in here, you gotta take off this little plastic plug that sits inside this rubber right here, and behind there is one of these star heads. So stick it right in there. We'll take that pin out. We got the first one loose, but there is another one right there. Same deal. Take the plastic thing off. Use the same star bolt to take that out, and then this whole thing should just slide right out. Alright guys, so took this off, got to the brake pad. You can tell it's kind of, it's got a shine to it. This thing's definitely glazed over. I did, however, get the wrong brake pads. I thought that there was not a sensor in them, so we're gonna have to go back to the parts store and get the right ones. Alright guys, we're back from the store, and it's the same brand, same thing, except for there is a sensor on it. So what we're gonna do now is take this sensor off and then plug that one in. And then we'll do this one, but before that we have to push this back. We have to squeeze that back in, and I'll go through that once we get there. Alright guys, to undo this, you have to do both that and the side one right there to get it to come out. And as you guys can tell, the difference, that one has no shine to it. This one, kind of shiny. That would be exactly why they're squeaking. It's not rough really at all. There's a few little spots, but then like I can just rub it off with my finger. It's completely smooth. So whoever had this before was either riding their brakes or was just slamming them way too hard, but you can tell there's enough pad on it. It's almost the same as that. So good thing we're changing them out. Alright, for this next step, we're going to push this in. What you want to do is take one of the old brake pads and put it back inside there, or you can just leave this one in here. But you also want to pop your hood, and you want to take this cap off. That way, when you push that piston back, it'll push the fluid up a little bit. It just has room to move around. Alright, now I got this big ol' C-clamp on there. You want to push it back until it doesn't go any farther. That way, you put the new ones in, it'll fit right over your rotors just fine. So you don't have to use one this giant, whatever one fits, but you don't want to put it on here at all. You want to put it somewhere, you know, where it's not gonna pinch this or any of the rubber. So now we'll put the new ones on, and we'll put these pins back in the right position and tighten them down. Alright, now what you guys want to do is get this pin lined up and tighten it a little bit so that the top one is in place, and then get the bottom one in place, and then tighten them down, you know, little by little, like back and forth until it's completely tight. You don't want this to be like, see, it's kind of, it can be lopsided. You don't want it to do that. Alright, we got the first one done. Bolts are tightened. Those caps are on. And now onto the other side. And then we'll do the rear ones after. But I'm not going to record the other sides. Alright, I'm going to put the tire back on, but here's a little trick I learned. If you lay on your butt, put your legs underneath both sides of the tire, you can hold it in place, spin it where it needs to go, so you can put the lug nuts back in. It's easier than trying to use your arms to get it in place and stuff. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. I wasn't going to show you this side, but the passenger side does not have a sensor to it, and neither does the new brake pads. They don't have a sensor for the passenger side either. But other than that, it's pretty much the same process. Alright guys, both the front brakes are on. Now we have to start the car and pump the brakes a few times. Do that. You get fluid back up into those pistons, brake calipers. Just slowly, don't slam on them, just slowly until it just gets tight. You don't want it to go all the way to the floor. Alright, then we should be done with the front. I'm going to put this back on for now. We'll start this up technically tomorrow. As you can see, it's getting kind of dark out. So we'll do the rear brakes, and I'll show you guys how to do those. Alright guys, it is day 2 of the brakes. It got a little bit late last night, so decided just to do the rear ones today. Been driving the car though, and there is no squeaking anymore, which I'm pretty sure was just the front brakes, but since we're doing them, might as well do the back. And also, with the catback exhaust on, I can notice a little bit more acceleration. Not a ton, but slightly. So it's going good. Now we're gonna get into the rear brakes. Alright guys, now that we've got the rear tire off, we're gonna take off this pin, and then there's the same thing underneath. This takes 14 millimeter. So we'll do the same thing like we did the front, sorta. And sorry about the fan noise, it's really hot out. Alright, so we got the first bolt out, but you see there's another bolt head right there that just stays in there. So I was able to just hold my fingers on it and get this one out, but I think when I go to tighten it back up, I'm gonna get a wrench and put it on there so I get it nice and tight. Alright, so in order to get this off, I had to use a rubber mallet to get them to come off. As you can see, they're quite rusted. And so we're gonna do the same thing. We gotta push this in again. But this one's a little different, so we should be able to just put part of the C-clamp right on there and on. Look, there's not really a good spot on the other side to put it, but we'll figure that out when we get there. Now I just gotta take these out and put the new ones in. Okay, so to get the first pad off, I pried it out with this. You could probably just use a thicker screwdriver, but I use this so it wouldn't bend. But you want to make sure that you don't break this, especially if you're getting cheaper pads. They don't come with this piece. As you can tell, there's only pads in the box, so I'm gonna pry off the other one and get the new ones on. So I got both the brake pads off, and as you can tell, these are really shiny. They weren't squeaking, but like I said in the first episode, you want to change the brakes out as soon as you get this car, because that's bad. And this one literally just fell off of here, so they're trashed. That's why you should always change your brakes when you get a new car, or used car I should say. Alright, to get the new ones in, what I did was I took it and I set it, just like slid it in this way. I didn't try to force it that way, and then I just lightly took the butt end of this and just ever so lightly tapped it into place. So now this one's in there. I'll just do the same on the other side. Alright guys, so these rear ones, to get this to push in is actually a pain. So what I did is I took the C-clamp, I clamped it this side and under here to hold this in place. And I took one of these. These are from, what do you call those? Angle grinder, like the handheld grinder thing. This is how you change those blades. I just took that tool, and as you can see, it fits right in these notches, and then you just gotta turn it to the right to get it to push back in. Alright, that's it for the brakes. It's all in, pins are in. Now I just gotta get the tire back on and do the other side. So there you have it, the brakes on the Volkswagen Jetta. I'm going to talk a little bit about the direction I'm going to go with this build. I want it to be a daily summer driving car, so it's going to look real nice when it's done. But as far as performance,
all I'm really gonna do is, I've seen other guys do this, I'm gonna attempt it. They do a head spacer and a turbo kit on these 2.0 Jettas, and they're supposed to last up to 5 years like that, and who knows how long after that. But that's the goal for this car. It will be painted black next year, probably. It's getting towards the end of summer, and I don't really want to get it painted and all that stuff if I can't even, drive it for a couple months. So yeah, the wheel spacers should be here tomorrow, so we'll get those on and I'll show you how to do those ones. And the short shifter is here. Not sure if it's the right one or not. I have to open up the existing shift housing thing and see if it matches up or not before I get into a video about that. And then there's also some LED lights that I had lying around that I'm gonna string up underneath the dash by the front passenger and driver seat, like underneath the dash there, to have a little bit of glow on the floor. It's not gonna be too bright, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hook it up to, I'm gonna wire it in to the switch for the lights. Because right now they're just those ones that you plug into a cigarette lighter. So we'll go through a video on that also. Well, that's it for this episode, and we'll see you next time.